Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. I would like to welcome everyone for our session today on this wonderful topic of reliving the memories of His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. We all know that how important it is to glorify a Vaishnava and to be in the association of Vaishnavas, and how foundational it is for the life of every devotee in his personal sadhana, personal Krishna conscious advancement. And during this series of talks, we have been inviting devotees who have had wonderful association of His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Pankajanghri Prabhu, who was a great Vaishnava who walked among us, and he who taught us how to live in Krishna consciousness and how to leave this world in Krishna consciousness. And today I have a very, very special guest, a special person whom everyone can call as a very loving friend because of his wonderful, jovial, kind, and amazing nature of a Vaishnava. And I welcome His Grace Rajendranandan Prabhu to our wonderful show today on glorifying His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. If you'll allow me, first of all, I'd like to offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne Nivishesha Shunyari Paschachadistarne. Obeisances at all the feet of my Prabhus in Mayapur and around the world. Panchakopatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First thing, I have to express my gratitude so everyone can hear. Antaranga Tulasi Devi Dasi is doing such a wonderful service, and the fact that she's called this lowly devotee to participate, I'm so honored and I'm so grateful. This is a great service to the Vaishnavas to continue churning the nectar of the glories of Pankajanghri and his brother. So thank you very much, and to all those who help you. I also want to extend my heartfelt condolences. It's been 2.5 weeks since he gave up his body there in Mayapur Dham. But for some of us still, a day hasn't gone by that we don't shed some tears in thought of him and missing him. So especially for those Prabhus who have given their hearts to such an extent that they still are feeling the pain of this loss, I extend my heartfelt condolences, but to everybody, anybody they talked to, anybody who they were requested to do a puja by, or anyone they interacted with because they were on the spiritual platform. He was on the spiritual platform. Janani Vash Prabhu is on the spiritual platform of Krishna consciousness. The love, the sincerity, the caring came through, and it touched all of our hearts. So I know that all of us feel the pain of such separation. But one thing that I did want to make mention, especially for those who grieve the most, that is natural. I've heard talk of trying to become pacified and this loss that we have, and sometimes devotees take shelter of the philosophy as we will, but there is a element of love that Krishna forces all of us to go through, and it's expressed by Ramananda Roy when he says, I know of no greater pain than separation from a devotee. Narottam Das Thakur says he'll smash his head against a rock and enter into fire, being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all his devotees, and whose association he performed his pastime. He simply weeps. One even more incredible to hear. Bhakta Priya Devi Dasi posted this. I copied it and have shared it with some devotees, that when Sanatan Goswami left this world, Bhaganath Das was so aggrieved, he gave up eating. Then when Rupa Goswami gave up his body, His association could no longer be had in this plane. He stopped drinking water even, simply maintained his life by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he wrote this one verse, some of you will relate. I know I can. Today, in the absence of Rupa Goswami, Brajabhumi seems completely empty. Giriraj Govardhan looks like a large snake ready to swallow me. Even Radha Kund looks like a tiger ready to devour me. But I still live. So when I get to return by the mercy of Gauranga to the holy Dham of Mayapur, oh my God, it's not going to be the same. Basically, I had 3 intimate, friendly Siksha gurus that have helped me tremendously in Krishna consciousness there in Mayapur. Padmalochan, who left some years ago, it wasn't the same without him. Now Pankajanghri, oh my gosh, what a loss. And there's Janani Vas Prabhu, and the feeling of separation, even though he's here on the planet. I've been in his association chanting japa in the temple and been overwhelmed by the thought one day he'll be gone. He'll be with his Lord and Srila Prabhupada, but I'll be bereft. I have these thoughts because they say I'll live a long life. But separation is a part of growing in Krishna consciousness. It's the love that Krishna gives us so that we can intensify our love and our relationship of service to those or he whom we have lost the association of. For heaven's sakes, Lord Chaitanya descended to taste this love in separation. The Vrajvasis were put through it for decades. And when they went to see Lord Krishna in Kurukshetra, he tried pacifying them for some time through discussion of jnana yoga, detachment from this world, relations in this world, and they wouldn't have any of it. We just want you to come back to Vrindavan. We know you'll be happy. We just want to serve you there in a way that will please you. So with Pankajanghri Prabhu, he and Janani Vas Prabhu are my Shiksha gurus. So far more advanced than I am. They are my godbrothers, and somehow or other, out of their compassion upon me, they allowed me to become their friend. It always amazed me, and I'd almost have to pinch myself. Is this real? I went to Mayapur in '87, and I stayed a few days, but Chatur and I stayed to ourselves, and I didn't even hear of or meet or see the 2 twins. But then when we came back in 2003, and I got to hear from Padmalochan about their character and the devotion that they had for Srila Prabhupada and to the deities there. And then I began observing and seeing, oh, I want to be like these Prabhus. I want to emulate their qualities. They had the 26 qualities. The first one that struck me because of my arrogance and proud nature is their humility. And that I that's the, if you see that, that's a flag going, there's a genuine devotee. Look for the humble devotees, not putting themselves in the front, but who are in the back. Look for the quiet ones. So they had their different natures. And immediately I could appreciate Janani Vas as a liberated soul. Took me a little bit longer with Pankajanghri because in so many ways we had some similar qualities. You can't help but right up front, I think it was part of the key to the door to get inside where they let down their hair was the sense of humor. They appreciated that I had a sense of humor. I was gifted with a laugh from my mother, by Krishna's grace, that has a bit of, it's contagious. And we spent so many times laughing together, appreciating humor. But of course, it all began with, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that the devotees, Their thoughts dwell on me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. 10:9 Bhagavad Gita. So it all started with philosophical questions when they would give class, and their answers, oh my God. I mean, I don't mind saying in the very beginning, like Janani, sometimes he would, when he would stop to think about a question, he doesn't shoot from the hip like me or so many others, but he'll do like this. And he'll take his time and he prays. He really contemplates about it. And some of the answers that would come out of his mouth, being from the spiritual platform of Krishna consciousness, would just blow me away. There's such a difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and devotion that is fixed, but to speak of spontaneous. The brothers had it. They both had it. And it took me a little while to get past. In Krishna consciousness, we're all made unique in our personalities. And Pankajanghri, like I said, there were similarities between us. And so I thought, oh, he's the one following. He's the servant. He did take the deferential position. But that was very deceiving, because Krishna, devotion to Krishna, it's in here. It manifests through the psychophysical nature that we have in this life, in this body and mind. But Krishna sees this. And you have to be very fortunate when you're at my level of Krishna consciousness to see that. But I got it. I'm going to give you one pastime talking about humility and tolerance, two of the qualities mentioned in Trinada Peace and Chaitanya. When Padmalochan Prabhu passed away, his wife was beside herself. We all thought she was going to jump into the Ganga and drown herself when they were bathing Padma's body in the Ganga. She was in shock, to say the least. And somehow or other, she got upset with Pankajanghri Prabhu that something wasn't done right. It's not, and she was yelling at him, and even using, language that was so harsh, so harsh. And Pankajanghri, he didn't waver a bit. He just watched, he listened, and he responded in a way to the best of his ability that he could placate her. That was one of the times that helped me see, oh my God, these two brothers are on the same platform. They're so close. If they're not on the same platform, for me, it makes no difference, because for me, they're so far up here. But I always knew, and it was my desire. I'm always looking. This is something I put out to you, my Prabhus. At some point, I'm going to lose Jananivas Prabhu's association. Who among you will be kind to me? Who will open up your heart and let me open my heart and be myself and discuss the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna, glorifying Srila Prabhupada, the devotees in Mayapur, the holy Dham. Jananivas, look at his copy of Navadvip Mahatmya. What a rabbit-eared, underlined 100-page markers in that book. Pankajanghri Prabhu read Chaitanya Bhagavat a lot. Interestingly enough, after having left, when there would be holidays, this is different years, not just this last year, but when there would be holidays and both of us would get to give lectures, I here in San Diego, he there in Mayapur, and of course I'd watch his class, and then I would be shocked. That's the class I gave, because we read the same portions of Chaitanya Bhagavat with the purports, and I'm going to share a couple of pastimes that may sound self-serving, but it will reveal to you how they won my heart. One, for example, we used to spend time together on the parikramas as a relationship developed. When they were somewhere, especially before I started going to the different parties to speak, to do service. Whenever they were there, I would immediately go to them and stay in their company, sit by them and interact with them, catch the nectar. But especially if there was only one of them, because one didn't go out or one went to another party, then we would come together. And I would be so fortunate because, I was there to, so I started to say that everybody holds them in the highest esteem. But as Krishna says about Vaikuntha Bhakti, I'd rather get scolded by my intimate devotees in Braj than all the prayers and awe and reverence. So they reciprocated with everybody in the way they approached them. And I wanted to be their friend. I knew that we all have to have friends. They sustain us in Krishna consciousness, and they allowed me to do so. So I'll give you an example on the parikrama, as I started to say. In the very beginning, when I started speaking, I got a chance to speak. It's very much in my memory at Hamsa Vahan in Godbrother Dweep. And I got to speak on the quality of chanting, which is personified in Godbrother Dweep. And I was feeling a little insecure because there were so many sannyasis. I mean, at that time it was like householder, what's he doing, speaking or this or that. He's a Prabhupada disciple, we'll give him a couple of minutes. But afterwards, the next day at breakfast, I kind of, in a little lack of self-confidence, I asked Pankajanghri, what did you think? And he said, Prabhu, I thought it was the best talk I heard all day. When I got that kind of acknowledgement, a loving, kind compliment like that, I can remember part of it distinctly was glorifying Prabhupada and the Gayatri mantra of Prabhupada, that we should meditate upon our spiritual master, knowing how absorbed he is in Krishna consciousness and how we should pray to be enthusiastic in our service to him as he is trying to enthuse us. So the direction was enchanting, but he was so kind, and he was sincere. I know I've seen where he can please people, and sometimes, how would we say it, have a little bit of, I'm going to say that which will make them happy. Just like on the light side, how many people have asked for blessings from Pankajanghri? Probably everybody here, asking for the puja and asking for the blessings. So how many of you have gotten this? He called it the stop sign. You got the stop sign. Of course, in Vedic culture, it's a sign of blessing. But making light, are going to bless those in the weddings. They were brahmacharis, but they were like Rupa and Sanatan in the sense they were there for everybody. They were the fathers, the grandfathers, the uncles, whatever it may be. They genuinely cared, but they'd call, we're going to go to a ding dong, going to a wedding. And they'd call it, we're going to a ding dong. And these are just little things, How many people have heard them say these kind of things? I remember in the beginning, I thought we were just always going to talk about Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, devotional service. And the more I would take breakfast with them, I've probably taken breakfast with them for hundreds of times. And sometimes it would be so wonderful. I mean, Antaranga Tulsi Devi and her dad, I can remember a couple of times where they had rang the doorbell. I think it was like 10 o'clock. That was office hours. They were respectful. They waited. They followed the sign, the rules. But we'd be engaged in katha. And sometimes we didn't want to stop. We just didn't want to stop. And devotees out there waiting half an hour sometimes. And, you know, finally, when they'd see me coming out with the plates so they could get their dhotis back on, presentable, go serve the Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavis, you know, when they'd see me come out the room with the plates to wash, then they go, you know, thank goodness, you know, we're going to get to see the twins. But I took every opportunity I could. And if there's a lesson to be had when you have advanced association, take every opportunity you can. Oh my gosh, it's priceless. The Bhagavatam says it's more valuable than anything that can be had in this whole universe, or even liberation, the eternal benefit. But I thought we'd always talk about Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. And then as we became closer in our friendship, then they started telling stories about their childhood and revealing things or you know, activities they did. I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but they didn't tell me how old they were. They were probably kind of young because it's an innocent prank. But one time they were on this sidewalk where there was kind of a wall, and they were going to jump out, the two of them, and scare whoever came walking next, you know, like, boo, you know, hey. And the first person that walked by was this old lady. And they jumped out in front of the old lady and they nearly gave her a heart attack. It scared her so badly that they became so scared they never did it again. I mean, things like that. It's like Prabhupada saying, when I was a boy, I wanted a gun, a cowboy gun. One wasn't good enough. Why do you need two? Well, I got two hands. I mean, this is priceless. It's precious. And I can't tell you the source, but somewhere in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, either Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur or Vrindavan Das Thakur in the verses, purport of verses, there's discussion of how even when apparently the pure devotees speak on mundane topics, one should never think that they're in Maya or that they're forgetting Krishna. And I saw that with the twins. I mean, they were fixed, but they were who they were. They were persons with personality and a history. And oh, it was so invaluable. I mean, I like, if you don't mind me sharing, everybody's familiar with the humor of Pankajanghri Prabhu, but I'll tell you, do I have something? Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, Krishna. I'll show you. Sometimes when I'm kidding around, I'll do impersonations. So one night I went to their room and I asked Janani Vas, Prabhu, hey, Prabhu, can I have your chatter for a second? I want to do an impersonation. See if you can guess who it is. So I got his saffron chatter. I put it like that. Then I got my bead bag. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I said, who is it? And Janani Vas knew I was making fun of him because so often in Japa he would doze off. And he laughed. He had a good laugh. Oh, he thought it was funny. I mean, it was bold, but it was really funny. I mean, you had to, know that this person is only coming from a level of love to appreciate it. So then Pankajanghri comes right when we're laughing. And I go, oh, Pankajanghri, I got an impersonation. Let me see your chatter, please. I needed to pull it off. So he didn't want to give me the chatter. No. I said, come on. So reluctantly, he gave me the chatter because he knew something was up. So anyway, I did the chatter. Fast forward, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he laughed, but he gave me one of those looks like, all right. Duly noted, one for Vraj. Rajendra. It took him, Pankajanghri, 15 years to get my name right. My name is Rajendranandan Das. I don't know anybody else given that name. I feel very fortunate. But hey, call me anything you want. As long as I have your company and your association, I could care less. So anyway, one for Vraj. You want to hear a really cool payback that he got with me? It was sometime later, but I didn't offer Guru Puja very often. And when I did, I would ask permission every time from Janani Vas Prabhu. Do you mind? May I have your blessings to do Guru Puja? And he would give. Okay, yeah, sure. So I got his blessings one day. And so I, took my shirt off, had my chadar, it was warm weather, and did the Akshman. Okay, offer Srila Prabhupada the garland, offer flowers, and I paid my dandavats. And while I'm paying my dandavats, all of a sudden I hear this. I look back, getting up, and Pankajanghri's starting the arti. In America, we say he snaked me. He took my service. So, I gave him one of those looks. All right. And I almost came this close the next time he did Guru Puja to do the same, but I did. There was no need. But by their grace, anybody who's been there for a long time, I always like carrying the ghee wick around in Mangal Arti, reminding me I'm a servant of everyone there. And it's just a little token. It's a nice meditation, and the devotees appreciate it. I asked them for their blessings to be able to do that. With their blessings, I was able to, up until this day, have to share it. There was an old man. I don't know if he's still around after all these times, but had to share it with another devotee after some time. He used to get away with, when I came, I could do it all the time. But anyway. Let's see what that one leads to. Blessings. Oh, here's a good one. We've all asked Pankajanghri to do pujas for us. Am I right? I mean, who hasn't asked Pankajanghri to do a puja for them? Well, one day, I don't know how long ago, some years back, I got fired up and I said, Prabhus, can you please do a pray to Lord Nrsimhadev that I can develop pure devotional service? They said, that's what you really want? I said, yeah. And so when I'm in India, I have this Saturnian nature. I think in terms of rupees. I don't think in terms of dollars back in America or whatever. I'm in the rupee consciousness. It can be good, it can be bad. But anyway, so I pulled out 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees, that's nothing to sneeze at. And Janani Vas looked at me and he said, you want us to ask that the Lord grant you pure devotional service for 1,000 rupees? And I realized, oh my God. I said, hold on. So I went back, I came back with 10,000 rupees. And that was acceptable. Now, this blessing, I have no doubt, it's a work in progress. I'm a very foolish, insignificant, disqualified in so many ways, aspiring devotee, but in their presence, they always inspired me to want to be a better devotee. Always. And Pankajanghri always will. The thoughts and memories of him, I will always want to be a better devotee. I wanted to become worthy of their association.
Wonderful, really wonderful nectar. And you also mentioned about the Vaishnava qualities, especially about humility, that how they were very expressive about that humility, and how we can see that regularly in Mayapur. Every time, even during taking Charanamrit after Darshanarti, Janani Prabhu always stands in the line He's standing in the line, in the end of the line, and he waits. Even if somebody tells Prabhu, please go ahead and have, he says, no, no, you stay there, and he waits in the line and he takes Charanamrit. Like that in everything, we never see them showing off. They are the head pujaris, or they can do anything in Mayapur. I mean, Radha Madhav and Nrsimhadev are there because of them in Mayapur. And but still
Or
there's,
Tulsi Puja,
yes,
circumambulating with all the devotees, not going up with the Prabhupada disciples. I can tell you that's something Pankajanghri appreciated that I did. I didn't get up in the hurried rush of Prabhupada disciples trying to be, sannyasis first, and right after the sannyasis to get the Satori blessings from Nishingadev. I tried getting there early, not stepping in front of maybe 10 devotees or something, but standing there waiting for all the Prabhus. And so often he would show his nod of appreciation that this is the right mood. You don't have to be in front of all the Prabhus. Who are we compared to all the Prabhus who are dear to the spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya? Who are we? He appreciated.
yes. And Prabhu, since you spent, as you said, so whenever you used to come to Mayapur, you used to spend time with them. Can you please share about the daily schedule of both the Prabhus, their prasadam, because the way they have prasadam, their mannerisms, everything in the daily schedule. Could you please share some light on that?
Okay, it was nectar. Thank you. It was nectar, just seeing the twins in their devotional reverie of the deities, their prayerful mood. Pankajanghri almost always, especially when the crowds were there, Gopur Nima times, he almost always stood in the back next to the Vyasa-san. And during the Mangal Artik and what have you. And so anyway, it was always wonderful seeing them, feeling their presence, buoyed by the purity of their association. Japa period comes, 6:30 every day. I would always leave the temple and go up to their rooms, because shortly thereafter, Pankajanghri and sometimes Jananivas would always go up, and they would unlock their rooms and they would go into the inner second room there, and I wouldn't bother. I'd just be out there chanting. But so often we would have just wonderful reciprocations, lighthearted reciprocations of the morning. Sometimes and they always had Mahaprashadam. Isn't it? Anyone who came to the room, you always got some Mahaprashadam. And they had Mahaprashadam from all around the world sometimes. And let me give you an example of how giving they are. We had one godbrother, superior to them. The etiquette is he was their Prabhu, but he would come in. Heck, if he could get in before they got there, and he would always get some really good Mahaprashadam, cookies, cakes, this and that. Enjoyed it to no end. This was his rasa. But one time, and they never said anything, And one time, the funniest thing, he took some Mahaprashadam, and Pankajanghri told him, it's a Kadashi, don't you? He goes, don't tell my wife. Whatever you do, don't tell my wife. So that was hilarious. We had the biggest laugh about this big devotee worried about getting scolded for having broken a Kadashi. But anyway, later on, they appreciate it. I told them, I never have taken Mahaprashadam without you present in offering it to me, and I never will. So they trusted me. I could go there. It was their books. It came to the point where their libraries there, Janani Vasas mostly, but Pankajanghri also. I could always read the books there, but I'd always ask, can I borrow? Because sometimes devotees would borrow and they wouldn't return. So that was there. I never took advantage. I tried my best. I ate prasadam with them for years, and I used to eat the smallest breakfast because they would get the maha in the morning, and it was the same. It was their quota. It was the same every morning. So when there's 3 people, that's a third less. Sometimes there'd be a 4th person. So I never took their favorite preps. Janani Vas Prabhu loved the fruit salad yogurt offering. Pankajanghri would offer me first couple of times milk, nice turmeric milk, and I always declined, and I always took. They let them go first, and oh my God, and they appreciate it. But sometimes devotees, they like he in confidence one time. Pankajanghri goes, "Why would he just come and take? It's not his. I mean, why does he do that? Now this is here so we can offer all the devotees." So it just goes to show that sometimes we think we have a level of reciprocation with these exalted souls, and they can deceive us. They will not chastise us. In fact, in my opinion, to a fault, sometimes they would not correct a philosophical point that was slightly askew, not on, in the Siddhanta. They wouldn't say anything. Get back to breakfast, we'd talk about it. And, my nature is, if I think it's my duty, if I hear something that's a little off, then do you mind if we discuss this? Let's see if, this is what Prabhupada says. So sometimes when we would come back to breakfast and we discuss the Bhagavatam classes, when one of the brothers gave the class, inevitably the other brother and I would kind of, it wasn't uncommon, we would critique the class. Like Jananivas, he spoke so softly, so often in Bhagavatam class. His brother would tell him, "Speak louder, we can't hear you." And every once in a while, both of them, they'd say something, and, "Oh, where's that from? Is that the Pankajanghri Samhita? What Shastra are you quoting on that? Is that the Jananivas Samhita?" So we would really love just churning the nectar and discussing threadbare as Prabhupada wanted. One time Pankajanghri I won't say chastised, but he asked me, "You Prabhus know me. Sometimes I get animated when talking about Krishna and in Bhagavatam class." And Pankajanghri one time asked me, "Why do you talk like that? You don't talk like that normally. Why do you do that in Bhagavatam class?" What he didn't realize is that I was raised in Oklahoma. It's in the Bible Belt. It's Southern Baptist, and sometimes you have these preachers who are Bible thumpers, and they get quiet. And I grew up with that, so there was some element of that. But I thought that I had to take it into account. Well, maybe I should tone it down a little sometimes. So that was nice advice. In terms of the schedule, so after breakfast, well, I would milk it as much as I could. And then lunch, very rarely would I ask to come because I didn't want to overstay my welcome. Better to be appreciated instead of like, oh man, here comes Raj again, Rajendranandan. So, but on feasts, every feast, often they don't have a feast for the devotees in the temple. They mix up all the Mahaprasadam, and I love passing that out to the devotees from one of the big giant buckets. And they always, had their things they did, but after some time they'd come up for lunch. And, I'd always ask permission. In every festival, I would take prasadam with them. And this is something that Chatura really appreciates. There'd be several pots of Mahaprasadam there, and we'd be eating till, we can't take another, at least I would, till I can't take another bite. And Pankajanghri, he would say, "Oh, please take some Maha home for Chatura, for your wife." He thought of her often. They never saw her, practically speaking, but they were just so thoughtful. And of course, that's the nature. Kind to everybody, always giving, always giving. So, heck yeah, I should. And I would, and it would be much appreciated. So the feasts were there. And then generally I didn't go in the evening because they were busy. They had their own schedules. Jananivas Prabhu doesn't like reading with others. Not really. At least that's what I picked up. And because Jananivas Prabhu is still in your association, could I give you a tip? Something that has served me greatly. And that is, when you ask a question of Jananivas Prabhu, ask your question and then don't say anything. Wait, wait, wait. Sometimes it'll be a minute or two. And he's thinking. And I don't know how many countless times I've seen devotees become impatient, mode of passion, and think, oh, maybe I should say it a different way, or, oh, and just bouncing right out. And they never got the nectar that he was churning inside and thinking how to share it. So I really encourage you that when you do ask for advice, when you do ask a question, be patient, because he will think 3 times before speaking. It seems that way anyway. So that's a tip that I would share with you.
Thank you so much. I'll surely
With
apply that tip next time I speak to him, because I remember even when I ask question, as you say, he does think for quite some time, and then we immediately think of rephrasing the question in a different way. That is very common of me, and I will not do that again, I'm sure. Because yes, as you said, he takes a long time to speak. I remember Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj was mentioning that
yeah,
Prabhu takes so long to speak. So, but when he speaks a word of gold, just shoots an arrow. I remember I asked Prabhu, please bless me that I can chant nicely as you do. I always see you chanting whenever I go to the room, whenever he's walking in the temple. If he's not in any other service, he's always with his beat bag, he's chanting. I told him, please, may I chant nicely. And then Prabhu, he thought for a while. He was sitting on his chair, on his rolling chair in front of his table. And then he leaned back. And then he came back again. Leaned front. And then he told, the only way to chant nicely is to keep chanting. And that was his sentence. That's it. But when he thinks after a
priceless.
long time, exactly. And when he thinks after a long time, and then he says it's a sentence etched on a rock. It's like that. And Prabhu, you mentioned a very beautiful point that the book of Navadip Dham Mahatmya, which Jananivas Prabhu has, and the Chaitanya Bhagavat of Pankajangri Prabhu. I remember seeing the book of Navadip Dham Mahatmya, which Jananivas Prabhu has, and I remember mentioning to Pankajangri Prabhu once that his book is so heavy, he is keeping so many things inside it. It's so heavy, and then Pankajangri Prabhu commented that, yeah, it's almost going to fall apart. It's so heavy. So this shows, and we also see in day to day how much the two brothers love Navadvip Dham. They love Navadvip Dham so much. They always, in any Bhagavatam class, in any class they speak anywhere, it's not easy to find them not talking about Navadvip Dham. They always mention something, the deities, the pastime, something. And we know that you also love Navadvip Dham 10 times. So please do mention something about how you three would talk about Navadvip Dham, and especially the love that they had for Navadvip Dham.
Thank you. That's a nice question. Pankajangri liked traveling. He didn't mind going outside the country for visas or this or that, going to festivals in Europe or in the former Soviet Union, etc. Janivas, basically, unless it was going to do service of installing deities or maybe to go with the Sankirtan devotees on Gaur Mandala Parikrama, something I got to go one time with them on. Oh, what an experience that was. But Janivas, he never went. And one time when we were leaving, Chatur was sharing with him that, oh, when I'm gone, so, I just cry. I miss Mayapur so much. And Jananivas in his humility said, I wish I could cry for Mayapur. And you've heard Pankajangri say in answers that sometimes we Dhamvasis, wouldn't call himself a Dhamvasis, but those of us who live here, we take it for granted. We get used to it. It's the norm. But when Jananivas went out collecting for the T.O.V.P, he could have, if he had stayed back, he would have gotten his Indian citizenship. The Foreign Registry Office, they were asking, all you have to do is come and just write a personal letter. Why do you want to be an Indian citizen? Put it in your own words. They weren't going to have him fill out forms or anything. They just knew this is a saint. This is a real sadhu. He loves our country. Just put it in writing so that we can use this to give you your citizenship. But he sacrificed that, and he went out collecting for the T.O.V.P. And when he left Mayapur, from what I've heard, for at least a week, he was crying every day, missing Sridham Mayapur. And he got to taste what that separation, that longing for Mayapur is. And it's an invaluable gift from the Lord, from the spiritual master. It makes the heart so much more attached. So to the Dham. So anyway, that thought comes to mind in terms of the Dham. Yeah, I loved hearing them tell the pastimes of Mayapur Dham. Oh, so sweet. And wherever they went, whether it was Champahata or when we went to Ambika Kalna or different temples, the twins got such, or Shantipur, especially Jananivas, but they got such respect from the Pujaris and the sadhus, the pandit, the mahants in these temples. Everybody recognized these are saintly devotees. And it was so nice to see that. It's just like you can't buy that kind of respect and appreciation that they earn by their qualities and the reciprocations they had with everybody. I mean, for heaven's sakes, one time Jananivas got to worship Advaita Acharya Shalagam Shiva. First year they put on the Shantipur festival. They were really uptight about it. They were concerned this, Western Brahmin touching and worshiping the Acharya Shiva, but he got to. I mean, who are these boys? Who are these two souls? Who can imagine? But they certainly came here to establish part of the mission of Srila Prabhupada, the spreading of the deity worship and offering the real standards. And it's not just about the rules. I'll tell you a pastime in the boat festival and the swing festival one time. It was a rainy night. The deities came and it started raining. So they didn't want to do the boat festival because the Radha Madhava could get wet. And so they immediately did the swing festival. And Jananivas Prabhu looked so sick, so almost miserable. And I had to wonder, because I know Srila Prabhupada has given hints about, you don't know what ecstasy is. Some of his most grave looking pictures, I was in ecstasy, man. And I went to Pankajanghri and I asked, is Jananivas sick or is he in ecstasy? And Pankajanghri just laughed. And he didn't say. So to this day, I don't really know, but this is what I do know. When the time to take the deities back to the temple arrived, it stopped raining. Clouds parted, you'd see the stars, and they went outside from underneath the roof and the samadhi where the swing was, the Julian Yatra was taking place. And they looked up and I saw them conferring with each other. And then what do? It's late. Jananivas is from external appearances very tired. And they, for the pleasure of Radha Madhava, they bring the deities out, they put them on the boat, then they did the entire boat festival. And the deities got home very late, but it showed me the selfless service attitude they had with the Lord. Whatever would please the Lord, that was what it was important. Who else do you know that calls Jai Radha Madhava Jew? Jew being a very intimate term of endearment. Jananivas Prabhu. I don't hear very many other people using that term. So they taught, that's what they really teach. You want to learn deity worship, learn the essence that they manifest, that you don't find simply by following the rules, but by pleasing the spiritual master and associating with advanced devotees. So, their love for the Dham, their love for the Lord in the Dham. What a gift to all of us.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful how much the two brothers love the Dham. You mentioned that they got the opportunity to worship the Shaligram of Advaita Acharya, and I've seen Prabhus. They also have worshipped almost all the deities in Navadvip Dham, be it Narsimapalli or Harihar Kshetra or Hamsavahan, wherever they go, Gaur Gadadhar and Champahati, everyone, as you say, all the pujaris, they respect them, and they always bring things to worship. Whenever they
Yeah.
come, they carry things to worship, and they go and they offer to the Lord. They love Navadvip Dham, the deities in Navadvip Dham. They just love everyone. And as you mentioned, the love for Radha Madhav, they are very, very caring for Radha Madhav. They want to see the deities are safe, going safe, coming back safe. It's very amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that wonderful nectar of the boat festival pastime. I remember, yes, in Mayapur, in the 7 days of boat festival, it has to rain at least one day. It happens every year. And we have this pastime happening, and we can see how caring and how the both the prabhus, they get worried when it starts raining, and they do all the
Protective.
needful to protect the deities. And that was so amazing. And thank you so much for your time, Prabhu, for an amazing, loving pastimes and nectar you shared about both of them. It's a nectar to hear about both the Prabhus, and it's double, triple nectar to hear it from your lotus mouth. Having so much
Oh,
association, having you
it's
have so much
it's
love
a
for that.
solace to the heart. I am the winner here. I am the recipient of mercy. I'm so grateful that you've allowed me to carry on to the best of my ability, expressing my love for the twins.
We are, I'm sure all the viewers are so thankful to you. And on behalf of them, on behalf of the Mayapur.com team, I thank you so much for your wonderful session. And I have no words other than thank you. I can only say thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa.
Panchakopajubhisha Kripasindhubhavacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo. My Prabhus, would you please say a prayer that Chatur and I can come back to the Holy Dham sooner than later? We miss you and we look forward. I should have made mention. I talked about the grief of not having Pankajanghri's association, but right now you're not even in the temple. Chandan Yatra is going on. Nishinga Chaturdasi is going on, and the Pujaris are there with the Lord. And I can tell you from realization, I got to spend some time when many of the devotees were not able to go to the temple. I got by Pankajanghri's mercy. It's not what you know, it's who you know. He, talked to Madhavahari. Madhavahari talked to what's Ram Vijay's brother's name? The manager in Mayapur. They gave the nod. Sure, he can come. But my realization that I wanted to share with you, the deities are missing you far more than you're missing them. But you're getting a glimpse of that yearning. Just, oh Lord, when will I get to be with you again? So I want to say that my prayers are with you. This is one last thing that I'll say. I said it 2 or 3 times during our discussion that everybody asked for their blessings. But one of the things that they really appreciated was that I told them, and I started this vrat years and years ago. Every morning I pray to Srila Prabhupada and the Lord Nishingadev that they protect them, that they bless them, that they, keep them safe in their devotional service. And they very much appreciated that. They said, we're asked to pray for everybody, but you're praying for us. Thank you so much. And then in a light vein, I told Pankajanghri, I saw Rupa Goswami says that one who is a friend of a Pujari and Nishingadev, his offenses to devotees are nullified. Hari bol. so I knew I knew where my bread was buttered, as we say in America. I was so blessed to have his association. He called me Vraj. He called himself the Maharaj, because not only was he a great soul, but he had the access to the Maha. Another thing about, you want to get a Maha plate? You want to get sweets or this or that, go to Pankajanghri, and your wishes, your desires can be fulfilled. So anyway, forgive me. I could just start going again, but I know you want to leave. It's dragging on. Thank you for your patience and your tolerance. Say a prayer for us, please. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yes. Please do come back to Mayapur as soon as possible. We are seeing Jaranivas Prabhu alone now. It'll be nice to see you and him together. It'll be so wonderful. Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much.
Until next time, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dear viewers, I thank all of you for joining us today. And please do tune in every Sunday, 7 p.m., so that you can hear more nectar of His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. His Grace
Jai.
Pankajanghri Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Hare
Gaur
Krishna.
Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.